Is that what Logan does in there? He stacks up our guests like air traffic control. Come on up. Show them what you got. Come here. You got off your My Pillow dog bed. Why? You haven't eaten tonight. What is this? What is that? Huh? Go get that. Oh, watch it. Don't hit your face on the desk. I think she hasn't eaten tonight, so normally she sleeps, but she's awake right now. All right, so Logan's got them stacked up in there, our studio dog, Delta, for those who are new. Logan's got them stacked up like air traffic control. That was the analogy. And now joining me is Anni Cyrus. Anni, welcome back to the broadcast. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me back.
Did you enjoy my FedEx story?
I did. I was laughing, but I enjoyed Delta more.
I know. I know. She's got her tennis ball in here. Normally we put her tennis ball away because she's obsessed with it. But she woke up, and I think she's up and awake when she's normally asleep because we forgot to feed her before we brought her in here. And if she has a full belly, she's prone to laying down the whole 3 hours and sleeping. But now she's up walking around, carrying her ball, trying to tell us everyone has been so busy today, we've forgotten to feed the poor girl. But we'll take care of that. All right. Every time, by the way, somebody comes in tonight on the new system, we have to move it off real quick because they pop up. So we're going to get the bugs worked out in this new system we put in. But Anni, we've got some very concerning news related to what you and I predicted, and that is if you bring a bunch of jihadis in here, if you bring a bunch of Islamists in here, they will continue to practice their Islamic worldview, and they will not assimilate. They will not respect our culture, and they will start violating the rights, the civil rights, the God-given rights of Americans. And now we have a very, very sad story for you to tell us about. It's one of those we told you so moments, isn't it, Anni?
It's sad, but yes, it is one of those, well, we told you so, and we will keep telling you. Hopefully at some point people will actually pay attention and believe us, or at least take it into consideration before jumping into helping the refugees. But yes, well, the cases are more than what is being reported, but as of right now, I could just simply put it this way. Our women and children are starting to be directly in danger, especially if they are within the military bases of New Mexico or Wisconsin, and there's another state that I'm drawing blank on. But yes, what is happening is in Fort Bliss. Thank you.
Fort Bliss in New Mexico.
You see, that's the Persian thing in me. We say everything reversed. It's pull flag.
Well, I have dyslexia, so I do that sometimes too, by the way, and I'm not joking.
But yeah, a female service member, we could refer to her as a soldier, but the proper term is service member, has been sexually assaulted by a group of Afghan refugees. Now you know why I keep doing this, Brannon.
Yeah, refugees, yeah, exactly.
Yes, because technically terminology of refugees, when you take refuge in a place where they have better life for you. Anyhow, that's what the headline is saying. But if you read between the lines or you read the report from the Afghan International News, she was basically gang raped.
That was what I was going to say. If she was sexually assaulted by a group of men, are we talking about gang rape here?
Yes, she was gang raped. Now, the Afghan International is reporting 5 Afghan men. The American report is not saying how many. But the source that I read this originally within Afghan International says 5 Afghan men in the base who are housed, like they are being kept in the base, meaning they are the new chunk of Afghans coming in after Biden administration ran away from Afghanistan. 5 of them raped a female service member or an officer within the military base in New Mexico. The FBI is investigating. Where does it go? I don't know. I don't think it's going to go anywhere, but I can tell you the very same case is happening in UK, where a few of the Afghan refugees sexually assaulted a female officer there. So you see, this isn't just something against Americans. This is an Islamic culture that is coming into Western countries.
Well, our friend Robert Spencer over at jihadwatch.org, he has written, if you want to show this, Logan, the Justice Department announced Wednesday that a federal grand jury in Wisconsin charged Nuri with attempting to engage in sexual act with a minor using force against that person, and with 3 counts of engaging in sexual act with a minor, with 1 count alleging the use of force, end quote. And this is, I guess, referring to Fort McCoy, Wisconsin, where you have Afghan refugees at Fort McCoy, Wisconsin, and two other Afghans, Buharaha Nori and Mohammed Harun Imad. And I guess those guys are now sexually assaulting minors. And so,
Not just that. That is the same place me and you, we discussed the existence of child brides that are not being removed from the hands of their husbands. That's the same base. So
wait a minute. You're the Fort McCoy in Wisconsin. You're saying that the child brides that have been flown over here to America from Afghanistan, those child brides are not being removed from their sex slave.
Owner.
I mean, they're a sex slave. They're a sex slave, but they're not being removed from their. They're being kidnapped. Their kidnapper still has them.
Well, here's how the Department of Homeland Security described it on their release on September 14th. As of right now, we are looking into the age of the kid, the length of the marriage to determine if the kid is in danger.
Oh, really? Really?
Yeah. I don't know since when marriage and kid come into the same sentence in America, but apparently nowadays we say, okay, keep the kid, keep raping her every night, assaulting her every night, abusing her every night until we figure out if the length of your marriage has given her enough Stockholm syndrome for her to be okay with it.
Yeah,
but that's the same place that two men were also indicted and now charged with child sex abuse, and one of them is strangling his wife, quote unquote, released by Daniel Greenfield's article saying 9 women have been killed in Wisconsin. You be the 10th if you say anything. That's what the wife admitted to, that the husband, while strangling her, said 9 women have already been killed. You be number 10.
Now, these 9 women, who killed them?
The Afghan refugees killing their own Afghan wives.
Okay, did they kill those 9 women here already, or did they kill them overseas?
No, here.
You
That's
mean
the thing.
Just in the last 3 or 4 weeks, they've already killed 9 women?
That last month and a half, the cover up is way bigger than what me and you are hearing about, Brannon. Go to The Point article by Daniel Greenfield, or go watch the very latest episode that came out today on Glazov Gang. Daniel Greenfield discusses this very case of the strangled woman by the Afghan husband being warned to not say anything because 9 has been killed in, I'm sorry, what was it, Fort McCoy?
Fort McCoy, in Wisconsin.
You be the 10th one. This is what our military bases are turning into.
And by the way,
covering up and cooperating with the inhuman act of Islamic members.
And I want to get to the fact that, because there may be some skeptics watching tonight who are like, well, that's not Islam. We're going to explain why this is Islam in just a second. Annie is. But what's very interesting is if the government starts to allow knowingly for the acceptance of child rape by these so-called marriages, in quotes, they're lowering the sex age limit. Now, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, I've been writing about it for years, Ruth Bader Ginsburg argued in 1976, she went on to become part of the U.S. Supreme Court and died a year or so ago. But she argued in 1977, when she was an attorney for the ACLU, which was started by a communist by the name Roger Baldwin, an avowed and admitted and proud communist, by the way. She argued for the lowering of the sex age limit in that ACLU legal report to the age of, lowering the sex age limit to age 12. Now, if you go out there online and you put that in, the fact checkers will say, wrongo, she did not argue for that. You know where they're splitting hairs? They're saying Ruth Bader Ginsburg didn't argue for that. She wasn't saying she was for that. The briefing that she wrote was for that. Oh, okay, whatever. That's how they do this, folks. If you go out there online and find, try to verify that story, you see all these stories about how this is fake news, fake news, fake news. And then when you get into it, well, Ruth Bader Ginsburg didn't say she was for that. The legal briefing that she wrote was for that. Yeah, it's the same thing, you morons. But these are your fact checker morons out there, right? So if you got Annie, a lady who is an attorney for the ACLU, becomes a sitting Supreme Court member, arguing for the lowering of the sex age limit to age 12, and then they come on and they bring the Islamist in here, and they do not separate the sex slave from their kidnapper, and they call it marriage, and now they want to figure out how long they've been married to justify where they're going to let this keep going. This is going to set up the legal foundation for the acceptance of this to go on with other children in America. Agree or disagree?
Agreed, 100%. And that's why I said our women and children are officially in danger, because that's what they're going to do. What is there to stop them from coming after our children? What is there to stop them from coming after our women to abuse them or rape them or strangle them and make threats? I mean, they've been doing it in Europe for many years. Now they're officially starting to do it here in America. And I want to say this, I actually, as I was filming the segment for the Glazov gang, I was given a chance to ask one question of Daniel Greenfield. And here's the thing, I came to this country 19 years ago, a little longer than 19, but I came here as a former child bride. All of my documentation were issued as a single 18-year-old girl. And when I brought it up to my lawyer of saying, hey, they're saying I'm single, I just want to make sure this is all correct, she mentioned that American law does not legitimize your marriage in your motherland. You are considered a single woman coming to America. There was a time when America wouldn't legitimize or even thinking of the length of the marriage. If you were an underage child who was forcefully married off, they would have considered you a single person. They wouldn't legitimize that marriage. 19 years later, boom, we're at a point where they are looking into the length of the marriage, meaning they are already accepting the marriage as a legal marriage, now looking into the length of it.
Yeah.
That is one of the most unacceptable things our government
just happened
can
to our
do.
screen, Logan, by the way. Let me go to this article, Logan, if you want to show my screenshot on my computer. This is an article written back in March 2020 by Robert Spencer, former UK Prime Minister accused of letting Muslim rape gangs roam free in exchange for Saudi money. Now just look at that headline, folks. Whatever the motivation, he and others certainly let them roam free, writes Robert Spencer. Gordon Brown, who was Prime Minister of Britain and leader of its far-left Labour Party, by the way, it'd be the Fabian Socialist Labour Party. The Fabian Socialists gave birth to the Labour Party. From 2007 to 2010, has been accused of making a dirty deal with Saudi interests that resulted in a hands-off order to British police regarding the Muslim rape gangs that have plagued the once Septuagint Isle for years. The UK news site Politicalite reported Saturday during Brown's short tenure as Prime Minister, he borrowed money from the Saudis, but the deal had big strings attached, end quote. Politicalite quoted an anonymous source that it said was connected to the world of finance, claiming, quote, in return for the money, the condition they insisted on was that Muslims in Britain must be free to do anything they like, end quote. It sounds unbelievable, or does it really? After all we have seen public servants do in the last few years, up to and including the attempted deep state coup against President Trump. And whatever it was, Brown, or for some reason, there is no doubt that the British authorities for years were notably unwilling to do anything about the rape gangs, despite the fact thousands of British girls had their lives destroyed. He goes on, before I have your comment here, Annie, the police stood down because they were told to do so. Politicalite reported in 2018 that ex-Northwest chief prosecutor alleged that the Home Office ordered police to ignore grooming gangs claims in 2008, though Home Security Jackie Smith had nothing to do with the order, end quote. The news site also noted that Nazar Afzal, who, quote, successfully prosecuted the notorious Rochdale rape gang, told BBC in 2018 that in 2008 the Home Office sent a circular email to all police forces calling on them to not investigate the sexual exploitation of young girls in towns and cities across the UK, end quote. quote, said Official, quote, "You may not know this, but back in 2008, the Home Office sent a circular to all police forces in the country saying, quote, as far as these girls who are being exploited in towns and cities, we believe they made an informed choice about their sexual behavior, and therefore it is not for you police officers to get involved," end quote. Much of this hands-off policy was motivated by fear of charges of racism and xenophobia, or Islamophobia. 1,400 British non-Muslim children were gang raped and brutalized by Muslims in the city of Rotherham alone, and quote, several staff described their nervousness about identifying the ethnic origins of perpetrators for fear of being thought as racist. Others remembered clear direction from their managers not to do so, end quote. And if you click that link, by the way, there it is. UK, 14,000 non-Muslim children exploited by Muslim rape gangs. Authorities did nothing for fear of being thought of as racist. You want to comment on all this, Annie?
I do. If your audience would go to my website, liveuptofreedom.com, click on my radio option. I have a radio segment where I brought on my radio 3 years ago a survivor from UK who was kidnapped, groomed by a Pakistani group at age 14 and finally released at age 26 with 2 children, result of rape. She wrote a book, she testified, she provided pages of evidence, and her rapists and her kidnappers walked free in UK. She gave that testimony on my radio live. I have worked with some of these girls personally. And then we have Tommy Robinson, who was arrested and put in prison for trying to go to trial of the Pakistani gang group in UK and film it. Do you remember that?
Let's back up, because I don't think a lot of our audience remembers that. There was a guy over there in the UK named Tony Robinson. Tommy. And he was trying to bring attention to these rape gangs in the UK, right?
Correct.
And what happened?
Well, they arrested him in front of the court while he was about to go in and film the trial. They arrested him and put him in prison. And then they put him actually in a specific part of the prison that the rest of the jihadi Muslims are in. He barely escaped. He was beat up. He wrote a book about his experience in prison, but his entire charge was Islamophobia.
And they can do that in the UK because they have passed really stringent hate crime laws that mean you basically cannot say anything against Islam or it's a hate crime and you're going to jail.
Exactly.
And that's coming to America. It's already in Canada too, isn't it, Annie?
Motion M103. I went to Canada to give a speech about Motion M103, Islamophobia. It was a motion back then. Now it's a law.
So it's now law in Canada, and you say you went up there to speak about it.
Yes, I was invited by Act for Canada chapter to go up and to speak about how people should stop it from becoming a law.
Yeah, there was some female, young female YouTuber and gal up there that was speaking quite, I've had her in my radio show, speaking quite.
Sandra Solomon.
That in a Faith Goldie?
Faith Goldie also, yes. And we had Valerie Price.
And they went after Faith, didn't they?
Yes, I don't think I have heard of her in a very long time. That's the thing. For anyone who thinks it will never happen, they really need to pay attention.
Oh, it's going to happen here in America. You write it down. You write it down. We've been predicting for years the hate crime laws would be passed in America. You won't be able to say anything about the LGBTQ agenda. You won't be able to say anything against Islam. At the UN, they're pushing for global laws against blaspheming the prophet. And they do this by creating victim coalitions. Well, who are the ones oppressing you? The Christians and the capitalists. By the way, I deal with all this in my book, Marxianity. My book, Marxianity, that I'm going to put a shameless plug in for because you need it, came out in November 2018. November 2018. And it's called How the Evangelical Deep State and Their Useful Idiots Are Merging Marxism and Christianity Through Social Justice, White Privilege, Cultural Marxism, Illegal Immigration, Interfaith Dialogue, and more. These people have not only, the Marxists, penetrated our schools and our media, but our mainstream churches. I'm not talking about your liberal main line. They were gone in the 1950s. I'm talking your mainstream evangelicals. They are pushing that Annie and I are Islamophobics, that we don't care about the Muslim, that we don't care about reaching the Muslim for Jesus, that we're Islamophobics and haters, and the Marxists that have penetrated mainstream evangelicalism have, as I document in this book, getting federal money to bring in the illegal immigrants, big money, and they will be the ones pushing hate crime laws that will prosecute us while they stand there and say, well, they're not the real Christians, they're haters. They're haters. You know, Jesus wouldn't tolerate Brannon Howse if he were here in person. He would be calling them out like the religious leaders of his day, you know, whitewashed tombs and all this. That's the very people Jesus was talking about. And these Marxism and Christianity, these Marxianists will be standing there saying, we're the real followers of Jesus. Annie, Brannon, you know, Leo Holman, all these guys are haters. You should pass laws to deal with them. And a false dominant church will give cover to the government to pass hate crime laws that make it illegal to say what we say on radio, Christian radio, conservative radio, TV, and eventually they'll try to pass this so it impacts even digital TV. You agree, Annie?
Yes, I agree 100%. And I will add this. Jesus would never ever tolerate the abuse of a little girl in hands of any so-called religion at all.
Yep.
I wasn't born a Christian. I'm a born again Christian, but that much I know. Jesus would never stand for selling your daughter for a set of price that makes you happy to a man to be able to abuse her every night for the rest of her life.
Absolutely agree with you, 100%. So for those in closing Annie tonight, and her website, by the way, have we had it under her name? I can't see that far away. It's
liveuptofreedom.com.
Liveuptofreedom.com, there it is. Good job, Logan. Liveuptofreedom.com. Annie, for those watching tonight that say, well, this is not Islam. This is not Islam. This is just a few bad apples. What do you say?
I say read Quran chapter 4 verse 3, chapter 4 verse 11, chapter 4 verse 34, chapter 65 verse 4. In those 4 chapters, you'll see every act that 2 Afghan men in Wisconsin have committed. In those chapters, it allows absolute sexual relation with a girl, absolutely no limit of minimum nor maximum. In those chapters, it shows you how a woman is half of a man, and it also shows you how you're allowed to beat your wife to death unless she comes back to obeying you. Chapter 4, verse 3, 11, 34, and chapter 65, verse 4 is a good place to start.
So they are living out Islam. They are following the Quran, they're following the Hadiths, correct?
And they are following Muhammad, the perfect example of a man that you shall follow, set in the Quran by Allah. Yes.
So these, you know, I remember doing radios a few years ago where I talked, and even television. I did a whole PowerPoint presentation. And I did it about the gang rapes in the UK. And if you go over to frontpagemag.com, they have a lot of articles about it. And sadly, one of the articles, I don't know if you remember the image or not, Annie, but one of the articles was this young blonde who had been beat literally to a bloody pulp. She was covered in blood. Her hair was covered in blood. It was like someone had thrown a bucket of red paint on her. And there was dried blood, there was fresh blood, and it was a picture that had been taken to document what had happened to her, but she had been gang raped. There is a judge over there that told, remember, Annie, a judge over there in the UK that told the women, stop getting in the cab of Muslim or Arab men because the cab drivers were pulling over into dark places and raping these women in the UK. And the judge finally said, did he not, to these women, quit getting in the cab of these Arab men. You're not safe. And these women are not wearing the hijab, the head covering. They're looking at the men, and they're wearing American or Western clothes, blue jeans, slacks, whatever. And they look them in the eye, and they talk to the cab driver. And to them, when they look them in the eye, and they're dressed as they are without a big robe and a hijab covering themselves, that to the Islamic religion says you're asking to be raped, right?
Yes, Quran says, "Oh Muhammad, tell your wives, and
Plural,
daughters,
wives, plural.
wives, because in Islam you're allowed to have up to 4 permanent wives and unlimited sex slaves or temporary wives," confirmed again on chapter 4, verse 3. And Quran says, "Oh Muhammad, tell your believing wives, daughters, and women to keep their eyes down and wear their headscarf down to their chests and cover the rest of their body so they will be known and not be assaulted." You don't wear the hijab, you look somebody in the eye, you're not being known as a Muslim woman, then it's an open gate.
And by the way, when Judge Janine on Fox News spoke about allowing for the hijab to be worn by Ilhan Omar on the floor of the House, and she cited that this was Sharia, Islamic law that we've now capitulated to, the cowards at Fox News kicked her off TV for a while, didn't they?
Yes, she got suspended.
Even though
That's the
she
thing.
even cited the Quran verse accurately, didn't she?
Yes, but that's the thing. I do that all day long. And CARE put out a press release saying the anti-Muslim hate-mongering, lying Anni Cyrus should be shut down.
And Muslim
I
Brotherhood.
cite the Quran.
And when they say shut down, they mean shut down how?
However you see fit.
And of course, Muslim Brotherhood started in 1928 by al-Banna. He went on to work with the Grand Mufti of Palestine, al-Husseini, and carry out the Holocaust.
Well, if you think about it, Muhammad started this whole charade 1400 years ago. And the first move he made when he failed to trick people was lie his way to pass through a small village with 800 Jews in it. And in the middle of the night, when they were asleep, he ordered his soldiers to behead all of them. In one night, he beheaded 800 people after telling them we're just passing through.
And they were Jews.
They were all Jews, yes.
And if you don't believe me, folks, about the Muslim Brotherhood and the Grand Mufti of Palestine, al-Husseini, it's all in the Nuremberg trials. It's all in the Nuremberg trials. It's all in my documentary, Sabotage. Go watch an hour of my documentary that Annie's highly featured in, Sabotage, at sabotagethemovie.com. She's also in my documentary, Siege. She's probably in Siege more than Sabotage. But
Yes.
Muslim Brotherhood that's saying what they are about Annie, this group goes back to the Holocaust, folks. These are anti-Christian, hate the Jews, hate the infidel. And of course, Annie's got a price on her head for speaking the truth she does. Born and raised in Iran, came to America, and now they want to shut her down. But we work with Annie. She not only is a broadcaster with us, but she also works with us at Lindell TV, and she works with us at WVW TV. She's an associate producer with us, and she does great work, but we go out of our way to try to provide opportunities for someone like Annie. Annie, we appreciate you a great deal.
And I appreciate you and your support and everybody at Lindell TV, Frank Speech, and Word View Weekend. You guys are doing amazing work.
Well, we're glad you're part of our team, and we hope folks will visit your website, liveuptofreedom.com, liveuptofreedom.com. Anything else before I let you go?
Please keep your eyes open. Continue to your audience. Continue watching where these stories are going, and please be careful. Watch your girls and pay attention to what is changing at the schools for your girls.
And as reports warrant, we want you back here with these updates, all right?
Absolutely. I'll be back.
All right. Thank you, Annie. Anni Cyrus checking in, liveuptofreedom.com, liveuptofreedom.